Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living has a vision that we share, which is awakening personal transformation, not just for one person, but one by one for everybody. And our mission is teaching tools for positive change. We're part of the larger organization, Centers for Spiritual Living. And so the theme of the whole organization this year is a world that works for everyone. Kind of a tall order, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit later today about how holding a vision together actually empowers it to become. And our theme for the month of June, for all of the centers that are following the monthly themes, which we are, is let go of discord and live in harmony. So looking at all of that, there is a quote for this morning, which comes from our founder, Ernest Holmes. It's part of his statement, what I believe. If I move, I'm in deep trouble here, it seems like. My jacket may be rubbing on the connections or something. Is that true?
We're working on it.
We're working on it. Okay, I'm going to keep talking, as long as you can hear me. Are we game for that? Okay. So the quote from our founder that we're focusing on today is, we believe that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. We're surrounded by a creative mind which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. Now that sounds very deliberate, but creative law actually isn't deliberate. It has absolutely no self-awareness and no choice. It also doesn't stop and start. So it's always creating constantly and continuously, and it is creating through the collective and individual consciousness that we have as human beings. And it may do this for everything that exists, but we know that it does it for us, certainly. It does it for us because this is the way in which, as we look upon it in science of mind, that infinite, omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, infinite intelligence, presence, isness, energy of the universe creates. And so that everything that exists is that in form. That creative process is also in everything that's in form, including us. So we're using something that we can't not use. It is like any other natural law that we're subject to. It's happening all the time. And so that I decided I would make my talk title today, The Now Thought, yep, that one, is your power thought. The now thought is your power thought. And that is because the infinite, including the creative law, is not limited by time or space. It's always now in the infinite. It's always now. There's not a passage of time. It's now. And so whatever we're focused on now, whatever we're believing now, whatever we're deeply passionate about now, creative law is acting on that right now. And so now is good. Now is the point of power. So when we're looking at that continuous creation in the now, we're talking about those phrases that we know so much about, like garbage in, garbage, what goes around? As above, so below, right. That's exactly what we're talking about. Those phrases came about because of the truth of this. That the way that creative law operates is on what is available to it. It doesn't create stuff or make decisions. It operates on what's available to it. And what's available to it is what we're focused on. You with me so far? Okay. So I want to share a cute little story with you. A woman was at work when she received a call from the babysitter that her small daughter was very sick with a fever. And so she left work and stopped by the pharmacy to get some medication. But when she got back to her car, she realized she'd locked her keys in the car. And she didn't know what to do. She called home and told the babysitter what had happened, and the babysitter said, well, look around. Maybe there's a hanger somewhere you could use to, unlock it and get in. And so she started to search around the parking lot, and against all odds, she did find an old hanger. And she picked it up, and then she thought, I have no idea how to use this to unlock my car. And so, in desperation, she just closed her eyes and she prayed for a moment for God's help, whatever that might be. And within a minute or so, a guy pulled up on a motorcycle, kind of scruffy looking, bearded guy with an old biker skull rag on his head, and she thought, this is who you sent to help. But she was desperate, so she was also grateful. And the man got off the motorcycle, he noticed her, and came over to her and asked her if he could help. And she said, yes, my little daughter is very sick, and I came to get her some medicine, but I've locked my keys in the car. Can you please use this hanger to unlock my car? Guy said, sure. In less than a minute, he had the door unlocked and opened it. She hugged the man and she said through her tears, thank you so much. You are a very nice man. He said, lady, I am not a nice man. He said, I just got out of prison today. I was in prison for car theft. And I had only been out for about an hour. And she said, thank God you sent me professional. Creative law doesn't recognize us personally, and yet somehow it knows how to act upon us to bring into our experience exactly what is right for us. And sometimes it's only in retrospect that we realize how well things have moved us along the path of our lives. So the thing about the creative law is that there's no future, there's no past, there's no history, there's no waiting, there are no lines, there's no judgments. It's always available, it's ever present. We've got two seats right over here next to Anne Louise. Would you wave your hand over there, Anne Louise, so they can see you? There's two seats right there in that row. Yeah, there you go. Welcome, welcome. Yes. So our point of power, our point of changing something, our point of evolving is always when? Now, always now. It doesn't matter what's happened before. Creative law isn't interested in your history. You know? Does electricity care if you understand how it works? No. Does arithmetic hold it against you if you used it badly in the past? Some people wonder about that. Algebra has a grudge against me. Right. Is gravity interested in whether you're aware of it or not? No. Creative law has no interest in your history. It doesn't care about your patterns. It doesn't care about your reasons or excuses or the circumstances you think are holding you back. It has absolutely no reference to those. It doesn't care a bit. So in the moment that you decide that you make that now choice, that change is going to happen. When you stay focused on that decision, creative law does not have a choice except to manifest according to that trajectory that you've set. You with me here? So it's a little bit like when we're immersed in this creative field, this creative law all the time, and its mandate is to continuously create. It acts upon your thought because it's flowing through you, and that's what's available to it to act upon. So it uses us to continue the process of creation. The good news for us is that we can consciously also use it to create more of a world that works for everyone, more of what we want to see and experience in our world. How do we do that? It's not as easy as we'd like it to be, because we are seduced by the senses. And what I mean by that is not what the preachers meant in the Middle Ages when they were exhorting people to know that they were miserable sinners who were going straight to hell. That's not what I'm saying here, so don't go there. Don't go there. What I'm saying is that we're so immersed in looking at the wonder of the conditions around us, both positive and negative, that we forget that it's possible to operate independently of those conditions and circumstances. So I'm teaching a Thomas Troward class right now. Judge Thomas Troward in his lectures said, anytime we believe that what our vision is, or what we want to create, is dependent upon any conditions or circumstances of any kind, we're operating in the realm of secondary conditions, not first cause. And so when we shift our awareness to first cause, we have to think about that which we want as not limited by anything that currently exists, including our own old patterns and our own old history. So when we want to make a change in our own experience in life, we have to know that that creative law never rests. So it's available when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're worried about something. It never evaluates. So it's not going to be looking, going, geez, you should have this figured out by now. How long have you been studying spirituality? Good grief. Law doesn't care about that. It does not actually care, in fact. You can do whatever you want with it. You want to enhance your life? Great. You want to make yourself miserable? No problem. Creative law is there absolutely to support us whatever we choose. It doesn't care. It isn't capable of caring about that. Gravity does not care how old I am, where I went to school, what race I am, what sexual orientation I have. It doesn't care. And creative law is exactly the same. We have a seat up here available for you, ma'am, right there.
Perfect.
And I never bite. So you're safe up there. You're welcome. Yes. Oh, I'm shedding. Thanks. That's good to know. All right. Okay, good. So given that creative law is operating all the time, that we cannot really escape it, but we can use it consciously, that we do have the opportunity to do that, then given that, what is most effective, smartest, most advantageous? Well, what is most effective is to choose now with awareness. To choose now with awareness and to do our best not to slip into that idea that what we're wanting to see unfold is conditioned on something else. So it's very easy for me to look at anybody in my family I might be worried about and know all the reasons and all the family history and all the genetics and all the health issues that stand between, in my mind, that stand between where they are and where I think they would be happy or where I'd love to see them, where they're completely free. Can anybody agree with me on that? It's difficult, right, to not take all those things into consideration when we think about them. And yet, by our very taking all that stuff into consideration when we think about them, which we do very lovingly, to not judge them and to understand what's going on for them, but what we do unwittingly is hold them right there in that place. And so we sang about freedom this morning, and part of the freedom that we want for ourselves and for other people is to stop thinking of them in conditional ways. Not to make them wrong, but to, in our own awareness of them, open up to the possibility of their greater freedom, knowing that in the infinite consciousness, they were always free. None of that stuff was real. It's just temporary show. The truth of who they are is a manifestation of the divine, unconditioned, nothing in the way. And that's also true for us. Now, because it's difficult for us to think that way about people that we're closest to and for ourselves, that's why we suggest that people work with practitioners. Because a practitioner is a spiritual counselor who's trained in the art of not getting tangled up in your story, so that they can see the truth of wholeness, the truth of harmony, the truth of oneness, the truth of abundance, no matter what your circumstances look like at the time. So that even when we cannot do that for ourselves, they're there to hold that truth. And we lean on their knowing. And we surrender to their knowing. So that their greater knowing can begin to influence us. Because we as human beings are part of a vibrational system. Everything in the universe is vibrational. And vibrations affect one another. So what is effective is choosing now. What is smart is collaborating, cooperating, working with, in generous cooperation. What is advantageous is learning to love and to forgive and to learn further. And by joining together, we magnify our ability to do that. The physics principle of entrainment was actually discovered in 1665 by a Dutch physicist and scientist. And what entrainment means, a simple definition of it, is that it is a synchronization of two or more rhythmic cycles. The theory behind it is that the less diversity or push and pull there is in a system, the more energy it will conduct. In other words, in plain English, it's easier and takes less energy for systems to work in cooperation than in opposition. Now that's one part of entrainment. Another part of entrainment is that in general, when two vibrational systems come together, the stronger one will influence the weaker one, and it will automatically align. So if you have a wall with grandfather clocks up against it and all their pendulums are going at different rhythms initially, the longer they sit against that wall, pretty soon they will all be working in perfect entrainment together, automatically. When we sit in this room together and we share the same perspective, our bodies physically begin to entrain. The respiration, the circulation, the heart rate, they begin to entrain to one another when we meditate together, when we pray together. So when we go to a practitioner, we are intentionally surrendering to that practitioner's bigger vision for us, the deeper vibration of consciousness they're bringing to that work with us. We're surrendering into it so that we can come into entrainment with a deeper truth than we can hold for ourselves yet. Does this make sense? Yeah. It's very powerful. And the more of us that enter together into entrainment, the more powerful the vibration becomes, and the more influential it becomes. And so this is why groups of us coming together matter. And this is why joining together in prayer and meditation and song matters. Because the vibration that we send out, the more connected and entrained it is, the more powerful it is to support others in seeing the truth of who they are, in coming into a greater awareness of being loved as an expression of the divine, without so much struggle and effort and suffering on their part. And that makes the world a better place for everyone. So we are inseparable from this one. And what is smart is remembering and choosing now to align with the vibration of Jesus, which still exists on this planet, to align with the vibration of Siddhartha Gautama, who became known as the Buddha, to align with Lao Tzu, who spoke the Tao, the Tao Te Ching, to align vibration that's still here of all the divine avatars and teachers that have ever been on the planet, because it's here for us. And when it's our intention to entrain with that strong consciousness, we begin to shift. And we begin, you know the story of the woman who was bleeding and had this problem with bleeding for a long time. And she touched the hem of Jesus' garment and she was healed in that instant. He didn't do anything intentional. She knew if she could entrain with him, with his consciousness, she'd be healed. And he felt it when she did it. He turned around and he said, "Who touched me?" Not because he was offended, but he felt that entrainment, that intentional entrainment happen. It was so powerful that he had to turn to see who it was. So I have a story I want to share with you about fireflies. We live in a vibratory reality. And modern science tells us that everything in the universe vibrates. From electrons to stars. From human cells to your entire body. Even a rock is vibrating. Its subatomic elements are vibrating and spinning at unimaginable speeds. These vibrations are like music. But at the human level, some of us are vibrating to acid rock and some are vibrating to Vivaldi. The interesting thing about vibrating systems is whether it be a throbbing star or a human orchestra, they influence each other through the phenomenon of entrainment. Suppose we go out on a balmy summer evening and we notice some fireflies settling in a bush and blinking off and on. And at first we see a lot of random blinking. But eventually, we notice that an order is starting to develop. It starts with just a few fireflies blinking in unison, and then a few more, and then a few more, and suddenly, after a critical number join into that synchronization, all the fireflies in the whole bush are blinking on and off together simultaneously. Any stray firefly that happens by this coherent group will also be very strongly influenced by that vibrational energy to entrain with it. This is rhythm entrainment. It seems that nature finds it more economical to have vibrations that are close enough in frequency to occur in step with each other. Furthermore, a coherent group of vibrating units, say fireflies or humans, has a greater power of influence than an incoherent group. In other words, the first few fireflies that blink in unison, the beginning of the coherence for the group, influences other fireflies to blink in unison. And this continues until the coherent group is strong enough, that is, has reached a critical mass to cause all of the fireflies to flicker in unison, relatively speaking, in the blink of an eye. So we together are invited by our larger organization into creating a world that works for everyone. We look at that and think, well, that's, kind of a tall order. I have no idea how to do that. It's true. We don't have any idea how to do that. And it is not knowing how that brings it about. It is jointly setting a strong, coherent intention. So if we want to create a world that works for everyone, if we want to let go of chaos and enter into harmony, if we want to leave discord behind and enter into greater harmony, then our intention becomes to align and entrain with those who are doing that, to be a part of that larger vision, that larger system, to support it in consciousness, to support it by participation, to support it financially, to support it in prayer, to support it in meditation, to talk about it, to share it, to embody it, to live it. Does this make sense? We are, I think, very honored to be part of an organization that holds this kind of vision for the world and holds it in the midst of events like the shooting that happened in Orlando this morning, which is the largest mass shooting that's happened ever in the United States. Now, when something like that occurs, you immediately went, oh, right?
We didn't know about it.
So we go to this place. Now, we just entrained with, oh my God, we just entrained with that. Now what I would like us to do is do something else. Now what I would like us to do is to see Orlando glowing with light, to see it filled with wisdom, with responsiveness, with cooperation, with a rising up of love so powerful that it begins to be a transformative beacon. What happens when we do that? What happens when we think of a place or a person in wholeness in that way is that we join in consciousness with those there who are claiming that, who want that. We are entraining in such a way that we make that vision stronger, that we support them more fully in the wholeness that they truly are. When we think about things in our lives that have been difficult for us, that we've struggled with, sometimes in retrospect, if we're looking carefully, we can see how those things actually became gifts that empowered us in our lives. Not that we would want to experience them again, because probably we would not, but that we are intentionally looking for the gift that was given. And when we look with the determination to find the gift, it will reveal itself. But it sometimes takes some real looking and real willingness to let go of our opinion about what happened to find a gift. Would you agree? And that's why it's important for us to be together as a congregation, because we support each other in that experience. We are empowered and entrained by being with other people who also have the intention of finding the blessing in the midst of the challenge, of saying, as Jacob did when he was wrestling with the angel, I will not let you go until you bless me. I will not let you go until you bless me. You difficult, painful, frustrating, annoying angel. You completely disguised. I could think of a number of choice names for you, angel. I will not let you go until you bless me. I know you have a gift for me. Help me to see it. Help me to welcome it. Help me to put it to use so that I can take my life forward in an even greater way. Because that's what I'm here for. Sometimes Oscar Wilde is credited with saying, be yourself, everyone else is already taken. And so that's what I want to say to us today. We want to bring the fullest selves that we are in our power, in our groundedness, together in entrainment so that we empower each other in even bigger ways. So that in the strength of our consciousness, in our knowing of wholeness, that people's vibration is healed by being with us. Not even in conversation, just riding the elevator with us. That we could be such a vibration for good, for wholeness, for light, for healing, because we choose to be now. When is the point of power? Now. Are we making a choice?
Yes.
Always. Always. We're making a choice right now. This is our point of power. We've always been ready for it. We're consciously choosing, and so it is. Namaste.